Delicious Swiss chard soup with white beans and thin pasta. Welcome to Rain's Kitchen and Garden. My name is Rain. Today I'm sharing an easy vegan soup recipe made with white beans, Swiss chard, and pasta. This is a very healthy and comforting soup to make on a cold autumn day. These are the ingredients that you'll need for the soup. You're going to need a cup or 220 grams of dry white beans. You're going to need 2 tablespoons or 15 milliliters of olive oil, 2 onions, 2 carrots, a small bunch of Swiss chard. Now, if you can't find Swiss chard, you can substitute with spinach. It tastes very similar. You're going to need 6 cups or 1.5 liters of vegetable broth, 1 cup or 185 grams of diced tomatoes, 1.5 teaspoons or 4 grams of ground basil. If you can find fresh basil, which I could not this time of the year, all the better. Use 3 tablespoons of fresh chopped basil. You'll need 3 cloves of garlic, salt and pepper to taste, 3/4 of a cup or 75 grams of dried capellini noodles broken up, and you can use any type of thin noodle for this, like angel hair or spaghettini. You'll also need 4 tablespoons, that's 10 grams of parsley. I just wanted to mention that whenever you use dry beans, it's a good idea to soak them first. I soak mine overnight. I put them in a bowl of water and leave them in the fridge. But if you only have a little bit of time, make sure you soak them for at least 4 hours. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare my vegetables. So I'm going to chop up my carrots, onions, garlic, and Swiss chard. So why don't I start with my carrots? All right, these are all peeled. I'm going to give them a little bit of a rinse. And all of these peels are going into my compost pile. So I'm just going to put these right here for now, because I'm going to add the garlic skins to those and the onion skins and all that stuff. So I've got my carrots here. I've rinsed them. And I basically want to finely chop them. So why don't I do this one at a time? I'm just going to take the ends off. Cut them. I usually cut them in 3, and depending how thick they are, I cut them in half, and then maybe in 3 like this, 2, 3, or 4. Like I said, depending on how large the carrot is. I'm sorry, I just moved my breadboard there. There we go, my cutting board. And I'm going to put these into a little dish here on their own. How about I move my dish over here? I just wanted to show you how they diced. I say finely chopped, diced. As long as they're in small pieces, we'll be happy. Definitely soup season. I have another soup actually on the burner right now. Okay, now if you want to be picky, these are slices, but I basically just want them to be small little pieces. That's why I say finely chopped. Just so that they're able to cook evenly. Because if you stick a whole carrot like that into a pot, it's not going to cook evenly, right? We want to try to make them the same size if we can. And I personally don't care if they're perfectly diced or julienned or chopped or sliced, as long as it tastes good. Sometimes if you watch these professional cooking shows and they tell you to dice a carrot, what they do is they cut off the ends like this so that it's kind of in a perfect rectangle, and then they just throw it out because they want it to look great. We're not about that here. We are about flavor and being frugal, right? So the carrots are done. I'm just going to leave those aside while I prepare the onions, while I prepare myself to start crying from the onions. I have two kind of medium-sized onions here. Every time I chop onions, I weep. It's crazy. Right. They say that if you break the skin of the onion, that's when it releases that sort of toxic whatever it is that makes you cry. I love onions, but I often wonder if a vegetable can actually bring me to tears. Is it good for me? I'm still going to eat them, but I often wonder that, you know. I've got a little bowl here, a separate bowl here. I'm going to put the onions in. If this vegetable or root can bring me to tears, should I really be eating it? I don't know. I love the flavor. Now these I'm just chopping, not finely, I would say roughly. And the only reason I'm chopping them roughly is because of the fact that my eyes are already starting to tear up. And I can't really see what I'm doing. Just hoping that the knife knows where to go. That's why I try to do onions really quickly. Very nice. My onions are chopped. Here they are. So I'm going to go and rinse my Swiss chard, and I will slice it when we come back. So I've just rinsed off my Swiss chard. Isn't that beautiful? I love the colors of this. And I'm going to slice that up, and I've got another bowl here that I'm going to put the slices into. Now what I want to do is discard the stems, okay? Just discarding the stems. The stems remind me a little bit of rhubarb. There we go. So the stems are discarded. I'm going to take these one at a time, and what I want to do is slice them up. So what I do usually when I slice things up is I roll them up and I go across them this way so that we have little slices of leafy vegetables. I mean, they're not too thin, but you know, they're slices. I think that'll do. I'm happy with that. I want things to be easy. So again, I'm going to roll this up. And make some thin slices. My roll came unrolled, so I will do this again over here. Maybe I'll switch it around and start with the top so it doesn't unroll. There we go. All right, and into the bowl that goes. I keep moving my cutting board, sorry about that. There we go. I find that's the easiest way to slice thin slices of lettuces, or leafy vegetables as we call them. Oh, here's a big leaf. This way. All right, we've got one more leaf to go. Then we can get our garlic chopped. Very nice. Okay. So I've got the Swiss chard all chopped up or thinly sliced. There it is. It's hard to see in the light because it's very dark. But what I'm going to do right now is chop up my garlic since I've got my cutting board out. We're not going to need the garlic right away, but I think it's good to be prepared. Now I'm just squishing it up because it's easier to get the skins off that way. See, when you kind of crush it, the skins come off right away. And I've said this in other videos, this is for old garlic. I have fresh garlic that I got out of my garden, and this doesn't work all the time. You have to really peel it when it's new garlic. The crushing method doesn't necessarily work. All right, so I'm just gonna cut off the ends because, like I said, this is old garlic and it's starting to sprout a little bit, and I don't want the sprouted ends into my soup. So those go into the compost pile. And either the critters or the earth will enjoy a little skin there. So I'm going to chop this up. Wait, we have a little dirt. Okay. So what I do is I basically slice, watching my fingers. And then what I do is I hold the end of my knife and I just go across like this. I used to have a garlic mincer, but it broke. It wasn't very good quality, and I never replaced it. But I found that, you know what, I don't really need to. As long as I chop the garlic really nicely, it gives the same flavor and texture that I like. But if you want to mince your garlic, go ahead. I say take these recipes and make them your own. Do whatever you like. Take the basic recipe and do whatever you like with it. If you like more salt, add more salt. If you want to add hot sauce, add hot sauce. If you want to add beets, add beets. If you want to add more garlic, whew, you're my friend. I love garlic. Can't get enough garlic for me. Okay, so that's all ready to go. While I've got my cutting board dirty, I'm actually going to chop up my parsley here. I need 4 tablespoons. That's about 1/8 of a cup. So I'm not going to use my knife. I'm actually going to use my scissors because I find that it's much easier to use the scissors when you're chopping up herbs. So much easier. I just basically cut them up. I have a pair of scissors that I keep in the kitchen for chopping herbs and cutting pizza slices and things like that. And it works very, very well for herbs. So I need about 1/8 of a cup of parsley. And I have my 1/4 cup here, so 1/8 of a cup will be half of a 1/4 cup, right? So that's about right. Actually, I'm just going to use the whole thing. So it's a little more than 1/8 of a cup, but I just don't want to waste. So that my parsley's all ready to go. I have a large pot here, and I'm going to add my olive oil. And I have my burner on a medium heat. I'm going to warm the olive oil, and then I'm going to add my onions. When I want to test my olive oil, I always take a little piece of onion and I put it into the pot. And if it starts to sizzle, then I know that my olive oil is warm enough. So I'm going to add all of the onions. And I'm going to let that saute for about 5 minutes until the onions are nice and soft. Okay, now I'm going to add my carrots. I'll give that a little bit of a stir. And I'm going to saute the carrots for 4 minutes because I want them to release their sugars and get a little bit tender. Everything is smelling amazing. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add half of the Swiss chard, just half of it. Okay, that's about half right there. I'm going to give that a little bit of a stir. And I'm going to saute that for about 2 to 3 minutes until it's wilted. That just means it's going to reduce a little bit in size. The Swiss chard has definitely wilted, and you can see a little bit of that red color coming off into the onions. I don't know if you can see that. See, it's a little red on the onion. So I've turned my heat up to maximum, and I'm going to add my vegetable broth. Okay. And I'm going to add my white beans. I've drained them and they're ready to go. I'm going to add the diced tomatoes, the basil, and the chopped garlic. Let's give that a stir. I'm going to bring this to a boil, and when it comes to a boil, I'm going to lower the heat to a simmer and let that simmer for an hour until those beans are nice and tender. My soup is simmering now, so I'm going to actually cover it because I don't want the liquid to evaporate. So I'm going to cover it and turn it down low to make sure it's on a very low simmer for the next hour until the beans are nice and tender. Meanwhile, prepare your pasta by cooking it the way you like it, and when it's ready, drain it and set it aside. I'm going to transfer about half of the soup into my blender. And I'm going to blend it until it's smooth. Now, you could always use a hand blender and partially blend the soup if you want. The idea is that we want a little bit of texture in the soup. But if you like the soup, if you like your soup blended, feel free to blend the whole thing before you add your pasta. I wouldn't recommend that, but you might try that. Okay, so this is about half of my soup here. Let me put the lid on and we'll blend that until it's smooth. I'm going to pour the blended part of my soup back into the pot. And I've got the heat on because I want to bring that to a simmer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the rest of the Swiss chard. And I'm going to add my cooked pasta. And half of my chopped parsley. Just half, because I want to save some for garnish. I'm going to give that a little bit of a stir. And I want to simmer this for 3 to 5 minutes until the Swiss chard is wilted again. And at this point you can taste it and you can season with salt and pepper. I know my taste buds very well, so I know how much salt and pepper to put in, but taste it since it might be a new recipe for you, just to make sure that you have it the way you want it. All right, so we're going to simmer this for 3 to 5 minutes. The soup is ready. This soup smells so good and it's very warming and comforting. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please give it a like and please do subscribe. I have a playlist on my channel called Delicious Soups that you might enjoy. I'll add the link at the end of the video if you'd like to check that out. If you don't want to miss out on future videos, don't forget to hit the notification bell for more home cooking. Don't forget to leave me a comment. I love your comments and I reply to all of them. And please share this video with anyone you might think will enjoy it. Thanks again for watching, my friends, and I'll see you next time on Rain's Kitchen and Garden. Bye!